It was the 30th of June, and I was in Cairo. It was an historical day for Egyptian and Egypt. Millions of people went in the street asking for the ouster of the Islamist president, Mohamed Morsi. I spent the first part of the day in front of Itadiyya Palace, that is the presidential palace, and I had the chance to speak with many people, and I took a lot of pictures, and I made even many videos. And then I ran and I went in Tahrir Square, where I did the same job. And after a couple of hours, at the end of the afternoon, I came back home, and I opened my laptop, I checked the mail, and I received an email from my newspaper, the one I'm usually working with, La Repubblica. And it said, Giovanna, thank you for your proposal, but we will cover the day through the news agency. We don't need your feature. So I was really disappointed, but in the same time, I was curious. I wanted to see how the biggest Italian newspaper, the website of the biggest Italian newspaper, covered that historical day. So I went and checked the website of Il Corriere della Sera and then the one of La Repubblica, and I found out that they wrote exactly the same bit of information. So number of people who were injured during the clashes, number of people who died, number of people that were in Tahrir Square, but nothing more. There was no analysis feature. They just had, I remember, a couple of statements said by prominent Egyptian political figures. I think that Italians deserve more. I think that in Italy we urgently need a revolution of the media. I'm a freelance journalist. I'm based in Cairo. I'm living in Cairo for more than 1 year, but I've covered on the ground all the political and social events after the 2011 revolution. If you ask an Italian what is going on out of the Italian borders, you will hear little in the way of solid analysis or information. But to describe the crisis of journalism in Italy, I can tell you some phrases I've heard many times inside the newspaper. We don't need anybody on the ground. We already have somebody who will write about Middle East through the news agencies. Or we don't need somebody on the ground because we have a journalist who is covering foreign policy from the newsroom in Rome. Or we can translate international publication. We don't need anybody on the ground. I think that the most telling phrase I've heard, it was, look, are you rich enough, your family is rich enough to afford you doing this job? So I think it was, of course, it was really disappointing and frustrating, both personal and professional. But moreover, I can say that the most common phrase I've heard in the last 3 years was, look, there is a huge economical crisis. We can't afford nobody in Cairo. I'll tell you something. For sure there is an economical crisis, not only in Italy, but even in other countries. But we have great journalists all around the world. And despite the crisis of the newspaper market, there are freelancers, a lot of freelancers based everywhere in the world. And we definitely live in the golden age of news consumption. We have freelancers, as I told you, everywhere around, and there are readers can get news from different sources in different languages. the problems began and ends with the media to whom these freelancers answer. But who are today foreign correspondents for media? Today, Italian foreign correspondents are mainly freelancers who live abroad. There are a bunch of people who have chosen this profession out of passion and devotion, not because they were chosen by the newspaper, not because they were chosen by the editor-in-chief. This is the same feelings that inspire me when I do this job. I left Italy 3 years ago, and nobody sent me in Cairo. It was a personal decision. I published a book and I did want about the North Africa Revolution. I did want to be where things happen. Journalistically, I think that is the only way to do this job. Unfortunately, the Italian market is static, cynic, and very provincial. And I realized that they even don't have a real strategy about foreign policy. They are not able to take advantage of the people, the freelancer people that are everywhere on the ground, in the field. And they're even very young, because most of these freelancers are in their 20s and 30s. And they're not able to take advantage of the surplus of the events that are ongoing every day, especially in that region, in Middle East. In the last years, I came to realize a great distance, a big distance between myself and correspondents who work for non-Italian media. And not because foreign correspondents who work for non-Italian media as a full-time job, but because international media gives importance to foreign policy, while Italian media doesn't. I'll give you an example. A few months ago, many bombs exploded in the University of Cairo. So it was a very critical situation. And I perfectly remember that I was seated in a coffee bar close to Tahrir, and I was speaking with a foreign correspondent, and he told me, Giovanna, why you don't try to pitch this story with your newspaper? It's even a story on the topic. So I said, yes, I think it's a great idea. I mean, I can do something, I can write something about that. So I got an interview with the leader of the anti-coup movement students, that is the Brotherhood movement inside the campus. And then I got an interview with the leader of the independent movement, students movement, always inside the campus. And to get the whole picture of the situation, I took some statistics. I spoke with some people who work in the Egyptian NGOs. So at the end of this, I sent the proposal, and the answer again from my newspaper is, we are not interested in this kind of story. So we have to face the truth, the reality. Italy, in many fields, but especially, because I know it, in the newspaper field, is led by a calcified elderly elite. The problem is that even if they are retired, most of the foreign correspondents who work for newspapers are retired or near the retirement age. But the problem is that even if they are retired, they still continue to publish. I remember a couple of months ago, I was in the office of the newspaper I told you before, and I proposed myself to cover some political events in Cairo after the ousted of the Islamist president Mohamed Morsi. And the answer of the newspaper was, look, Giovanna, we really appreciate your professional path and the work you have done since now, but we have our correspondent who is retired, who will publish and write about this event. And most of the time, this person are even not based where things happened. I don't want to describe the future as journalism only as a matter of age, but in a country like Italy, where a 40-year-old person is considered most of the time a boy, professional development, I think, it's real challenge. Moreover, living in another country gives me the possibility not only to write about breaking news, but even to cover more complex trends that go often overlooked by those who live abroad. In December, I published a feature with Observer, that is a well-known English newspaper, and it was about Maraganat. What is Maraganat? Maraganat is a very popular music that is well known in all the poor districts of Cairo, in the slums. Lots of people drive, and when I say people, I mean teenager. So a lot of people on their 20s, even younger, they drive to the lyrics of this song, of this music, social and sometimes political messages. As a journalist who is based in Cairo, we have the duty to listen to their stories. We have the duty to listen to their needs and their problems. We can ignore them. Of course, again, I wasn't able to publish this story with the newspaper, with the Italian newspaper. I have to mention many colleagues of mine, freelance journalists, already focused on the financial side of the problem. And it's not a secret. To do this job with dignity, first of all, we have to increase the payment for freelance journalists that now is bordering absolutely in the ridiculous. When I do, it's common, it's really common when I publish an article, a hard-won article from Cairo, to be paid from big newspapers like Corriere Repubblica, not more than 40 euros. And it's a kind of really ridiculous payment. But what does it mean, hard-won article written in the ground? It means that you spend at least 2 weeks of daily, deep work. Again, it's not the main, I mean, it's a big, huge problem that we have to face, the financial side, the financial problem. But, moreover, there is a problem of journalism itself. I do proposal to newspaper every week, and I usually get yes or no as an answer. Yes or no as an answer is not enough to grow up professionally. It's not enough to grow up in this field, especially in the foreign policy, if you cover foreign policy issues. And most of the time, it happens that you're covering a fast-moving event on the ground and sometimes even dangerous, and they even don't answer to your proposal. So this lack of dialogue between the freelancers that are on the ground and the people that are inside the newsroom describe the totally disinterest that the people who take decisions inside the newspaper have when they have to face or to treat about foreign policy stuff. A lot of people usually ask me, why are you so, you criticize so much the Italian market? Why you're fighting against the media system? You will not change anything. My answer is based on 2 points. First of all, I do think that one person can change things. But I do think as well that aware people can change things. So I hope that the awareness about this situation will grow among people. And then the second answer is more related about my personal feelings. I love my job, I love doing my job in the ground, and as I'm an Italian, I care about Italian readers. And I think that Italian readers are interested in foreign policy, and I also think that if Italian people lose interest in foreign policy, the fault is with the media itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Giovanna.